Welcome to the Pipe and Tobacco Talk podcast, where the discussion promises to be sort of interesting, the humor offensive, the tobacco's pretty darn good, and all of the pipes well above average. We're your hosts, Tim Beaumont from PapaBear's Pipes, and I am Jim from Emerson Southern Forged. Tim, how are you this evening?
Good, Jim. How are you?
I'm excellent, thanks. It's Sunday
Good.
evening, and you and I are hanging out doing this for the first time. This is episode 1.
Yep. Yeah, go on. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say this is episode 1. This is our first podcast. And so how the show will go, we're going to do a segment of what's new. Tim and I will talk about new things in our collection, new tobaccos we've added, new pipes that we've added. Then we're going to have pipe talk. And Tim has come up with some amazing new pipes, and we'll talk about some of the other artisan pipe makers that are out there. We'll do tobacco talk, any new tobaccos we've brought in. And then we have a list of questions from you, the audience. So we'll just kind of go from there. So, Tim, what's new in your collection?
Well, this is about 2 weeks ago. I bought a naked Tinsky from Glenn Tinsky. Now, if you've been following what's going on in his life, he's stepping away from the pipe making world for a while. Going to pursue a career in nursing, I believe. And
he's moving to New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think he was like in Washington or State or something like that, or Oregon.
Yeah,
the Northwest.
Someplace in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon.
Yeah. And so I bought it's mostly, the purpose of it is a shop pipe, which is, a lot of my pipes are shop pipes. Light them, take a few puffs on it, set it down, spill things on it, that kind of thing. So, but it smokes really well. It's enjoyable.
Oh, excellent. Well, Glenn and his dad, Mark, make some excellent pipes. And although I don't have any in my collection, I know many people that do, and everybody rave about them. So they both do great work. And I hate to see Glenn step away, but, you certainly understand that, you have to provide for your family. Josh Anderson at Anderson Briars did the same thing, and kind of got out of the business. And I hate to see these new, very talented artists get out, and we sure hope they come back.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, for a guy like me, it's kind of the perfect fit, because it's not, if you're trying to feed a family doing it, it would be tough unless you want to be in the production business, where you're, reproducing the same pipe over and over and over again, where you can spread costs over, a lot of units, where if you're doing artisan work, it's one at a time, and that's the fun in it for me anyway. And I think a lot of guys are like that. And, but it is tough, because you can't, you have great months and you have some not so great months, and to be able to feed a family, it's got to be kind of tough. So, but good luck to him. I think he's going to have a buddy of mine that's in the travel nursing business, and man, he's making bank doing that. So I think he'll do well. I wish him a lot of luck.
Well, yeah, I do too. He's a very talented guy, and I'm sure whatever he puts his mind to, he'll succeed at. So we're hoping for the best for you, and we hope you come back to pipe making soon.
Yep. And about if I could add also, some of the tobacco that I'm working on right now and enjoying is surprise. You pressed a bunch of Balkan for me, and I made this vow that I was going to sell her that and not touch it, and I broke my promise, and I'm working on a plug of it, and I got to tell you, it's really good. I really enjoy it, and it seems to get better, continues to get better. Smooth smoking. It's really a good combination. So you hit the ball out of the park on that one.
Well, just so the audience knows, Tim and I are both Latakia fans. Tim smokes straight Latakia, and I have a home blend that's 70% Latakia and 30% Perique. And, that's kind of my go-to, work in the garage, do stuff, blend, and Tim and I are both very similar in our tastes in, we both love Latakia.
No, I'd agree with
Or
that. Yeah.
Latakia if you prefer. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that blend.
Okay. You
Latakia.
smoking anything else? Well,
That's
we're just
really
trying to
what.
cover all the bases here, Tim.
Right. Yeah. You know what? I got out a tin. I've had it for a while. It was on a shelf out in the shop, and I think it's a C and D, and it's like Irish whiskey. I think is what it's called. And uh,
Oh,
yeah, it's if I remember right, Virginia and some Oriental, I think, and
oh,
it's pretty tasty. Pretty tasty.
nice.
I tend to like the custom. I've become spoiled um, having friends in the tobacco business. Uh, uh, y- the
Yeah.
blends,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The blends. Since I've been exposed to blends, um, the store bought tin stuff. It's just not there. It's just not as it's not as good. And if I were to describe the difference for me anyway, and everybody's tastes are different. Um, the flavor notes in the blended tobaccos um, that you make, for example, um, are more distinct, and there's a bit more lift to it. Where some of the tinned tobaccos that I have, if they're blends, they can be a little flat. It seems sometimes, or if
Hmm.
there's a or if there's a it's just probably something that's unique to me, but I can taste the difference. So there you have it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Anything else in the What's New segment?
Well,
Yeah, about cover it?
I'm preparing for the show, the Columbus show. It's coming up this weekend.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really looking forward to that.
Oh, I've seen some of the pipes you put together, and we'll cover that in the pipe stock, and we have to talk about those calabashes you're making because those are kind of breathtaking.
Oh, absolutely.
I saw the picture of the black one, and it's absolutely gorgeous. All right,
Yeah,
well,
it's they're
I'm
they're
gonna
yeah,
pull
they're
some
fun.
stuff up. So yeah, I'm gonna pull some stuff up here. I'm gonna put a little green in front of the screen so that we can
Okay.
see. So this past weekend, I got to meet Anthony from Castle Briars in person at a great tobacco shop called Edwards uh, Pipe Shop, and it's in Inglewood, Colorado, which is just up the road from me. And Anthony made me a commission pipe, and it's this gorgeous bent
Oh
billiard,
wow.
rusticated, the blue stem on it. Very nice. Just did very elegant work. It's got a little white in it, and it's a fantastic smoker. Absolutely love it. Let me see if I can do this a little better. But just a gorgeous pipe. And then he actually made a shop pipe for me. This was the start of the original pipe he made for me, and it had a flaw in the briar. And he patched it up and made a gorgeous little
Wow, that's nice.
shop pipe, and it looks great.
What's the stem adornment on that one?
The it is a acrylic resin, and it looks like the orange black fire type of.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I like that
Okay.
half saddle how he did that. That's sharp.
Yeah, he did a very nice job, and this is really going to sound surprising. He's the first actual pipe maker I've met in person. So
Oh,
it's sorry, I just haven't met
very
that many pipe makers in person. When you live in rural South Carolina, there just aren't that many of them. And now that I live in Colorado, I've met one. Next up, it's one I just got from Corey Brown. It is a bent Dublin, just absolutely spectacular graining on it. It's got the horn adornment on it and a very nice stem. And he did. Corey does a very nice work, and I'm in a chat group with Corey, so just about everything Corey makes, we kind of get a preview. We see it when it's in progress, or as he's finishing them. And I saw this one, and it just had to come home with me. And then last, and I want to bring this up because it's going to come up in the questions form over function when we get to the Ask Us Anything. And this is a pipe from Richard at EP Pipes. And I
Yeah.
saw this on his website. And Richard, as those of you who follow me on Instagram or on YouTube, I had Richard make me a pipe rack. And while he was making this, I kept seeing this pipe. And it's just so different and so unusual and so unique. You know, it's got a 223 shell on it. It's got a brass stummel that connects to the bowl. It's just such a unique looking pipe. And when we talk about form over function, I'm one of those people that if it doesn't have form, I don't really care what the function is. You know, it has to catch my eye first. And then we go from there. And then I have pipes for specific things. I've got a little rack right here that's my morning dog walk pipe. Typically, they're smaller bowls, you know, just enough for a 25, 30-minute walk with the dog. And then I have drive to work, drive home from work pipes, sit on the porch pipes. Then I typically, after I like the form, I get to the function. And then last but not least, my friend Noah was at a shop, and those of you that know me a little bit know that Acadian Perique from Mac Barron is absolutely one of my favorites. He saw one of those, sent me a little handwritten note, said, "Hey, I found this in Clarion, Pennsylvania. Thought you'd like it." And it's why I love the pipe community. You know, he saw it, he knew I liked it, and sent it to me, and that's just kind of magical. So,
Yeah, beautiful.
That's what's new
great.
at my shop. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, you know what? As you were talking, there's one other thing that I wanted to add. Well, two things.
All
Back
right.
to
All right, well, go ahead.
EP. You know, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
He and I
Yep.
were table neighbors at the Milltown show, and I got to know him a little bit. And he's in the
Mm-hmm.
IG pipe makers group, and every month we do
Yep.
there's a theme, and he can come up
Mm-hmm.
with some amazing ideas, and take remember the erector sets when you were kids, you had all the little thousands of nuts and bolts and
Mm-hmm.
little bits of slotted metal and stuff like that. He uses that, Lincoln logs, you name it. If he puts his hands on it, he can turn it into some element of a pipe. And I just am amazed
Yeah.
at the guy's talent for being able to incorporate stuff into a pipe. It's amazing.
Yeah. And just a remarkable artisan. So if you haven't been to, eppipes.com. If you'd like to check out Richard's work, he does. Our mutual friend Harrison showed me his pipe rack and thought, I really need one of those. And
Yep.
mysteriously enough, one showed up in Colorado.
Yeah, great.
And then Corey Brown at ABBS Artisan Pipes, if you'd like to check him out. And then Anthony at Castle Briars. He's on Instagram. I don't know if he has a website yet, but it'd be castlebriars.com. Those are the three pipe makers that I just talked about in the What's New. I highly encourage you guys, if you don't have an artisan pipe yet, find an artisan that you like and get an artisan pipe. And it's an amazing thing. I mean, that's how Tim and I met. I found his pipes through Tinker, Thomas at Tinker's Pipes, and said, you got to check this guy out. He makes some incredible stuff. And, it kind of goes from there. You get on these journeys where you find somebody's work that you really like, and they do make some incredible pipes. So
and Jim, the last thing that I wanted to bring up on what's new is on the 26th, I'll be joining Dan Reese. Dan is the artist better known as Buckeye Briar. And he's from
Ohio Briars. Yep.
Ohio Briar, not Buckeye. I'm sorry, Ohio Briar. And we're going to be at the Cigar Club in Hubbard, Ohio, and we'll be reviewing tobacco blends, and pipes and pipe smoking. And it's generally considered a cigar smokers club. They want to add pipe and pipe tobacco offering in their club. And so he and I are going to team up and go and spend the day with the members of that club. And if you look in on Instagram, you'll find Dan at uh, Ohio Briar, at Ohio Briar on Instagram.
Yeah.
He makes some beautiful stuff,
Well,
all
and I think
handmade.
he's even got his
Doesn't
own
use a
website
lathe.
too.
Yeah, yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I didn't forgot about that. He does have that. Yep. So there you
Well,
go. That's
I
what's
have
new.
an Ohio Briar, so all right, excellent. I have an Ohio Briar. I got one from Dan shortly after he put his website up, and I've been meaning to get another one. I've just been preoccupied. That happens.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So next up on the list is Pipe Talk. Tell us what's going on in the PapaBear shop. Tell me what you've got brewing for the Columbus Pipe Show.
Well, I have spent since the Muletown show. Got really busy after the Muletown show, doing commission work, and when I finished that up, I got really busy building pipes for the Columbus show, and then also the Vegas show that's coming up in October. And trying to build ahead, which I really enjoyed because you get to
Mm.
go out and just sort of let the block of briar inform what the pipe is going to be in the end. And I bought a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
exotic woods, spalted tamarind, cocobolo. There's 5 or 6 different ones. Those are the couple that I can remember off the top of my head. Some of these I haven't even heard of before. And beautiful
Now, where do
stuff.
you
And
find
so
wood like this? I mean, does
I found it. I found it on eBay. There are a couple of uh, Beartooth woods. There's a couple of purveyors out there on the inner tube that you can find who sell exotic woods, and a lot of it's in pen blank form. And then some of the
mm-hmm.
stuff that I found is actually bigger pieces. So maybe a 3 by 3 by 24 inches long, and
Mm.
you can. So with that, I started. Uh, have always had an interest in calabash pipes, but
Mm-hmm.
I've been at this for a couple of years now, and I spent a lot of time trying to get my skills honed down on standard shapes with my kind of
Mm-hmm.
interpretation, but uh, just standard smoking pipes, and got into figuring out how to build calabash pipes. And so uh, I took a run at a couple. Here's one that's this is mortar. I have had a hard time figuring out what in the world to do with mortar blocks because whenever I make a mortar pipe, it's 50-50 chance that it's by heating and cooling, it's going to fail, it's going to crack, and I'll just be making a new pipe for somebody. So
Mm-hmm.
with a calabash, this never gets hot. It's just the cup that heats up. And so, for example, this is an olive. It's all olive. You put an O-ring on there,
Mm-hmm.
and then you bore this out and create a chamber in the bottom so that the smoke collects in here and cools, and you don't get moisture,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes for a cooler smoke. And so this was kind of like the first rendition. And then our friend
Mm-hmm.
Harrison, for example, said, you know, our calabash is supposed to have more of a bend to it. And so I thought, well, okay, let's take a run at that. And so I made I had some box elder that I'm not 100% sure is box elder. It could be Tupelo, but it was all waxed and cut into it. It's pretty plain Jane stuff. And so but it's very light. And so
Mm-hmm.
I began with this one. And this is tough because you've got there are actually 4 drill lines. You got a drill line for the tenon for the stem. You got a drill line
Mm-hmm.
for the draft. You got a drill line for where it meets up here, and then you got a drill line for this. So it's taking it in and out of the chuck. It's been a learning process. Um, but I'm getting a chance to use some of this exotic wood. That's zebra wood
Mm-hmm.
on there
Mm-hmm.
with an olive insert in the center, and then using that same material, the box elder, and just it's very clear. You don't have any kind of grained character really to it, but it sands down
Mm-hmm.
smoothly. And this is spalted tamarind on here, and trying a bunch of different things. This one, there's no O-ring on this, but what I did was I lined this with cork. And so I like
Mm-hmm.
this design better. This is a snugger fit. It's tight. And, if you get any kind of swelling or anything like that, that cork is going to give. And,
Yeah.
you won't have a chance of having the thing jam up. So anyway, this is the kind of thing that I'm monkeying around with now, is trying to get my process down for making a calabash pipe, and
Okay.
and doing it so that it's light. It doesn't tear your jaw if you were to try to clench it at all.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's only 189 grams. It's a 4-ounce pipe.
that's right, that's right. And when somebody buys it, I go, you do have a dental plan, don't you? Because you hold this with your
That's
teeth.
right.
The crowbar effect.
You could
Yeah.
probably whip up a sling for it or something. Where you could wear it around your
Like a
head,
saxophone.
like
Like a
orthodontia.
saxophone.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But this is the first go around I've had with Carolina Cumberland.
Mm-hmm.
His rod
Aaron
material.
makes some incredible stuff, doesn't he?
It's really nice
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, really nice stuff. So, your pipe makers listening to this, give it a try. He really makes some beautiful material. Works nice. You can
Yeah.
cut it nicely on the lathe. Yeah, it's smooth, really beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
So
He
that's
did an
what.
interview
So
not
that's,
too long ago.
Go
He
ahead.
did an interview not too long ago with Nate and Justin over at Pipe Spores and Pals, and Aaron is, really kind of a remarkable guy. That
Yeah.
he's pouring these resins and doing this unique stuff with his stem work, just outstanding. So
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful stuff.
gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'll have a few of those at the show, and then I've got a variety of straight pipes, a lot of a nice offering of bent pipes, and
Yeah.
combination smooth and sandblasted finishes. So if you go to the show, come by the table. If I haven't met you yet, love to do that. It's the enjoyable part of this community is getting to know people. Now at
Yeah.
the show also,
Yep.
everybody should
Indeed.
know
Indeed.
that. Yeah, you'll there's going to be a table there with a full offering of not really a full offering. Your blend list is enormous, but pretty nice cross section of blends of Emerson Southern Forged that will be at the table next to me, and you've got a young man that's going to be manning the table for you.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, the so that everybody knows, the coming out party for me was last year at the Columbus show. That was the first time my blends were out in public, and Tim ran through the selection of blends that we sent, and I think at that time my blend list was 1 page, and everybody says, do you have to put Latakia or Perique in everything? Yes, I do. Not everything,
Yes, I
but
do.
you know what I mean. It's and it's just grown exponentially from there. And he'll have 12 different blends there, limited quantities of each one. So just mailing them from Colorado to Ohio and then have Tim driving up to the show. I really didn't want to fill a van full of stuff and send it to him. So, but all right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps up pipe talk at this point. And if we want to move on to tobacco talk, we can talk about tobacco and other stuff. And move right along with this.
Let's do it.
So, all right. So in tobacco right now, a very good friend of mine sent me some honey, and I made a rum and honey blend, which I haven't released yet. Where I took the honey, dissolved it in the rum, and I'm testing it on a couple of different blends. And the new Sun Bear Tupelo that came out, they used tequila blanco, which is silver tequila, and that's how they dissolve the honey to get it onto the blend. And I'm not a huge fan of silver tequila. That's tequila it's tequila's version of moonshine. It's great with other stuff in it. You have to decorate it. It's not very flavorful. So right now I'm testing a little bit of honey in Herradura Anejo tequila, which is one of my favorites. I'm testing it in Coralejo, which is another one of my favorite Anejo tequilas. And we'll see how that comes out. And I've got a bunch of blends that are in testing. One of the newest things that I made was an idea for Jay Furman, who is on Instagram. He's kind of everywhere. He's also on the Pipe and Tamper podcast, a blend called Gemini. And he was on a flight from New York to Salt Lake City, and he got off the plane and said, look, I've been thinking about this idea the whole time, and I wanted to give you a call. And he said, what I want is a vapor, and I want it pressed, and I want Latakia and Black Cavendish, and I want them pressed. Then I want it all rubbed out together and then repressed in one blend. I said, okay, I think we can do something like that. So I made the first batch of it, and when you press Latakia, for those of you that are blending at home, when you press Latakia, it brings it fairly far forward. So if you have a blend that's a 25% Latakia and you press it with some Virginias and Burleys and Perique, the Latakia will come further forward. Now it will mellow with time, but after the initial pressing, it's pretty strong. And I didn't want, because Jay, first and foremost wanted a vapor, but he wanted to touch a Latakia. So I worked on the blending and made the first batch and wasn't very happy with it, and it went into the jar of doom. And then the second batch I came up with, which was lesser Latakia, a little bit heavier on the Black Cavendish, really made a nice blend, and that came out as Gemini. And Jay's got it. Dominica Radio, a friend of ours from New York, has it, and they seem to really like it. So that'll be available at the show. So that's kind of what's new in my world. I have been experimenting with aromatics. It's difficult for me to work in aromatics because I like tobacco for being tobacco. I really don't care for certain aromatic flavors, but I've made a couple, and the people that have gotten them seem to really like them. I'm going to kind of move forward with a couple of aromatics, and we'll see where that goes. So that's what's going on in tobacco world. I did pick up 2 new blends while I was at Edwards that I do want to talk about. I've been a fan of Rat Ray's. Thomas had sent me a sample of Rat Ray's Marlin Flake, which I really like, but it's never in stock. And when I went to Edwards, they had Marlin Flake in stock. So I picked up 2 of the 100-gram tins, and I really like that. It's just a wonderful, wonderful smoke. And, if you like on the mellow side of things, I'd highly recommend Marlin Flake. And then I picked up Accountant's Mixture. Jay had talked about it on Pipe and Tamper a couple of episodes ago, and they had it, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go on Jay's recommendation and give it a try, and it is an outstanding English blend. It is just smooth and flavorful, and I really like it, and I like Rat Rays. I like what they do and how they blend, and very happy with both of those. I am looking for some Brown Clooney. That'll be next from Rat Rays. Nate and Justin from Pipes, Pours, and Pals had mentioned it in their last episode. That was the tobacco they were smoking, and they both really liked it. So I figured, okay, well, I'll give it a try. And, I like to hear real people talk about tobacco, when they talk about, oh, I taste this or I taste this. Okay. When you read the reviews online, you kind of go, okay, well, I've smoked a lot of the tobaccos that I see the reviews for, and I don't taste the same things that they do. So I try to align myself with people who I know like the same things that I do, and say, okay, I trust this person's opinion, and we'll go with it from there.
Right,
So
right. Well,
that's where I'm at.
and that's well, and that's why I'm looking forward to, among other things, I'm looking forward to the show this weekend. Friday night you get an opportunity to sit and meet and greet the folks that are attending, and share tobaccos with folks, and talk about them, try them, and it's always a great experience because undoubtedly you're going to encounter a tobacco that you just haven't gotten around to trying yet, and somebody will have some, and you give it a run, and you come up with that. Now I got a new favorite, you know. So
Yeah.
it's a good time in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing
All right.
that we're doing, it's like there's a moth flying around in here. Um, my I've got going to be taking one of these down. This is a Lapierre's Forked
Oh.
Tennessee bourbon whiskey. Um, had a couple of these.
Ooh.
And, this is really good stuff. So I'm going to take this down, and I'll have this with me, share it around with some folks. And then the other one that I really like is Angel's Envy Rye. They finish it in the
Oh
rum
yeah.
casks. That's delicious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a couple of those,
Yeah.
and Friday night should be good. We'll have a good time.
Yeah. Yep, I'm
Yeah,
sure the blood alcohol level will be within reasonable limits for people in AA.
for not driving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
the nice thing about that too is you get to drink in company. When I drink
Mm-hmm.
alone, um, I'm always afraid that I'm going to end up in a meeting, and you know what that means. You know.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Jim. Yeah. I just
All
came
right.
from the bar. Yeah. Uh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the pipe and tobacco talk questions. So I posted on Facebook and on Instagram and said, hey, ask us anything. We'll talk about anything. And I've got a list of questions that I'm going to read, and I'll let Tim answer first, and then I'll follow him up. So here we go. Question number one from Dave on Facebook. Favorite pipe shape and type of tobacco we prefer. So, Tim, what's your favorite pipe shape?
I gotta say it's a like a bent apple, bent egg, and
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, in like a full bent, so that it
Mm-hmm.
lays close to my jaw, easy to to clench. I generally smoke a
Mm-hmm.
pipe when I'm working, and I gotta have both hands free.
Right.
And with a straight pipe, I can't tell you how many times I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
trying to switch it from one side to the next, and you fumble it, and it flies out of your mouth. And with uh, a bent pipe, I
Yeah.
never have that happen. You know, and we've
Yeah.
talked about this before, and it's no secret. Uh, I love uh, Balkan blend tobacco, and then straight
Mm-hmm.
sort of tobaccos. Of course, Latakia is the top of the list for me, and of with the Virginias, I like a black Cavendish, and
Mm-hmm.
I think C&D makes a good straight black Cavendish. Uh,
Yep. Yeah,
so
they do.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dave, my favorite pipe shape it would be a bent Dublin or a bent billiard. It has to have a bend to it. I have a good collection of billiards. I just prefer bent pipes. Um, I just like them better. There's no, you know, when you're starting off pipe smoking, billiards are easier to smoke. They stay lit a little bit longer. They uh, don't collect moisture quite like bents do. But I just like the way bents look. And as far as tobacco type, I would probably say Balkan, English, Vapor, but not necessarily in that order because it changes by my mood. Some mornings I'll wake up and say, I have a taste for a Vapor, or I have a taste for a Virginia blend. And other mornings I wake up and say, I really want an English blend. And other mornings I want something smoky and Latakia filled, and I'll grab a Balkan. It just depends on my mood. I don't have, maybe in a future episode we'll talk about our top 10 blends or our favorite blends of all time. But I think I have 200 and some blends here at the house right now. And I just, whatever strikes my fancy at the time I go to grab it. So that's what I prefer. So
Yeah, great.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
Question from Jerry on Facebook. When did we start smoking a pipe and what motivated us to start? So, Tim, take it away.
Yeah. I've only been smoking a pipe maybe 5 years. Um, and I was just, working in the shop. And this is before I was making pipes. And just decided that, I was going to give that a try. And just, I always like the smell of pipe tobacco. And so, got my first
Mm-hmm.
drugstore quality pipe. And I don't know. I couldn't tell whether it was the tobacco or the creosote in the that they dunked the pipe in, but it was wasn't very pleasurable, And
I
so I
understand.
think, yeah, I think kind of like the breakout thing for me was I bought not really knowing anything. I bought a Peterson pipe and bought one of their system
Mm-hmm.
pipes and bought some Latakia tobacco. I remember seeing there was a meme on Instagram, and there was a guy holding a protest sign, and it said, "We'll trade sex for Latakia." And I thought, not a bad trade, you know. Give it a try.
Pretty fair.
Maybe there's something to it. So,
Well, when you really like Latakia, there's a lot you'll do for it. So,
so I thought, hey, if it's good enough for that guy,
mm-hmm.
so I gave it a try, and
Yeah.
then just started branching out from there. Uh, so it's been about 5 years, um, and
Okay.
um, and mostly, like I say, I smoke when I'm working, and then in the summertime, at the end of the day, I'll sit on the back porch and have a couple of bowls. Uh, Wintertime, it's always in the shop, unless I'm walking the dog or something.
Yeah.
So, but uh, yeah,
Huh?
that's what it's been.
All right. Excellent. Okay. Well, I started in 1986. My grandfather was a pipe smoker, and he was definitely a codger. He smoked exclusively Amphora Blue, and he smoked it in Dr. Grabo or Medico pipes, small light billiards. That's just what he preferred. He was a clencher. When he lit the pipe and put it in his mouth, it didn't come out until the bowl was done. And he only ever smoked one blend. And when I started smoking pipe, he says, "Well, pick a blend you really like and just smoke that one." And I said, "Okay." So I went and bought my first very nice pipe at the Tinderbox. I bought an Urbino, which is it's a slightly bent, like an author, and they had a blend called Captain Spice, and I really liked it. It had a great aroma. It didn't bother my wife. Back then, we didn't know that smoking in the house was bad. And I smoked until about 1994. And my son was born in 93, our youngest son was born in 93. And he really didn't want to hang out with dad in the garage having a pipe at 8 months old, 9 months old. And I put it away. And as he got older and we lived in Tucson, a bunch of guys I worked with smoked cigars. And there really wasn't a good pipe shop in Tucson. So I just smoked cigars and moved to South Carolina. And I was traveling for a trade show and was in Palm Springs, California, and they had a Tinderbox, and I thought, I'm just going to go in and see what they've got. And I had purchased, I got back into pipe smoking, and that was 2018. Went back in 2019, and the Captain Spice that I bought the year before gave me just horrific tongue bite. I didn't understand. It never bothered me before, and now it bothered me something terrible. And I went in and talked to the lady that's working there, and she goes, "Oh, aromatics from the early 80s and 90s are different than they are now. There's different formulas that they use, and they're just different. You might want to try something else." And she handed me a tin of Quiet Nights and a tin of HH Acadian Perique and some unnamed aromatic that I forget. But man, I fell in love with Quiet Nights and Acadian Perique, and it just kind of took off from there. And then the reason I got into blending is that I went to, Mutton Chop Piper. I saw his video, cellar deep, not wide, and I thought, okay, I'm going to load up on Acadian Perique, and it was discontinued. And that's how I got into blending. So, but I'm off and on since 1986, Jerry. That answers your question. So, all right. Next question from Noah at Noah's house, friend of both of us. Question 1, what draws you to certain blends? And what is a bigger draw in pipes for you, form or function? So, Tim, what draws you to certain blends?
Well, obviously for me, the tongue bite, I'm really put off by that. And so, I look for something that smokes smoothly, I suppose, right? Better, lack of a better term for it.
Okay.
And, but,
Okay.
I do like a little bit of lift, a little bit of spice to it, peppery, let's say. And to me, there's a difference between tongue bite that's just like raging, and a little bit of a peppery flavor to it.
Yeah.
And you know, and I like whenever somebody says, I taste like bread or I taste cocoa or something like that. I've never had that experience, no matter what tobaccos I've tried. But there are differences there are different flavors that come through, and so and there's things that I can't really explain or say it tastes like X, Y, or Z, but I know that it's something that I like, and so when I'm smoking it, I'm looking for those kind of flavor experiences as I'm smoking. And the other thing too is
Okay.
this probably has a lot to do with how you dry your tobacco before you smoke it, but and and humidity and that kind of thing in the air. But something that smokes and burns evenly. You just know when you're having a nice bowl of tobacco, the one that you just don't want to have end. That it's the enjoyable part of it is just it's smoking nice, and it's not too hot, and it's just right for you. And so that's the kind of thing that I look for. And about form over function, or function over form. Obviously the function's got to be right. The pipe can look great, but it can feel great, but if it's you got to work like hell to keep it going, all that kind of goes out the window. So I don't know, they kind of come in at a dead heat for me. I do like as I described before, I do like a pipe that is well balanced and kind of close to my jaw. And a bent pipe, and something that feels good in my hand is generally something that's got more of a round apple or egg shape to it.
Okay. All right. What attracts me to certain blends is nuance. When I smoke a blend, and when I smoke a pipe, I try to focus on as little as possible. The smoking a pipe is my quiet time. So I like a blend that unfolds. That you'll taste one thing and you'll have a retrohale, and something else will come through, another flavor will come through, and I equate it to like a mystery. You're smoking, and more clues come out, and it's subtle and it's nuanced. That's what's most important to me. And I suppose that's why the blender that I probably like the most is is Pear George from Mac Baron, because his blends are very nuanced, and that's what I pattern my blending off of, is being nuanced. I like the flavors to unfold. I really don't. I typically avoid blends that are heavy something. If you look at any tin of pipe tobacco, it'll give you what's in it, and typically the first thing that's listed is what the prevalent flavor is, or it has the highest percentage. And I look, when I'm looking at tins from the big houses, Mac Baron or GLPs or Cornell and Deal or Sutliff or one of the other houses, I look for a deeper blend, where it's got 6 or 7 ingredients in it, and that's what will draw me in, because it is of my opinion that will be a nuanced blend. If it's only got 2 or 3 ingredients in it, I probably won't, but I do look for a little bit longer ingredient list. Bigger draw on me, form and function. It has to have the form first, and then it has to have the function. I absolutely love the look of Peterson pipes. I've had 5 of them. All of them looked great. They had great form, and their function was, they all smoked out. All of them had terrible draws. I'm not knocking Peterson or Peterson fans. It's just the 5 that I got all had a consistent theme and the same problem. But if I don't like the way it looks, there's no chance I'm going to buy it. So it has to have the form first, and then the function is secondary to me. So there we go. On to the next question from 408, 408's Wander. Can you share the process of blending pipe tobacco and the art of creating the recipe? Oh, that could be an episode all to itself. The short version is, it's what I'm trying to create and how creative I'm feeling. I am always looking for a new type of pipe tobacco. I've experimented with cigar blends. I've experimented with some non-traditional things. It just depends on what mood I'm in, or if I have someone call me up and say, I really want this. The art of creating the recipe, to me, is getting the math right. I have a spreadsheet that I use, that I put together the math on the blend. And typically 30%, 40% will be the highest percentage of anything I put in a blend. And then I try to pick things that, based on what I taste, will go well together. Sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. But it just depends on what I'm trying to create. So if I'm doing a burley blend, there are certain burleys that I really like. I really like burley red tips, which is a whole leaf. I like Maryland burley, which I've gotten as a whole leaf. I like dark burley. I like white burley. And there are certain things that just go really well together. If you haven't just tried dark burley and Perique together, you should. It creates a little bit of magic, and then you can add other things around it that make it really special. But that's kind of the process that I use. And if you'd like to find out more, I will happily discuss it with you. You can message me on Instagram or Facebook, or you can send me an email, and I'll chat with Link with you. But we could go on for hours about that. So let's move on to the next one, because this is from our friend Mike at Pipe and Tamper. Tim, look around and tell us about your workspace and which piece of equipment needs upgrading the most.
Well, my workspace is, in a word, tight. Got a lot of equipment in a small space. I think it's 14 by 16, something like that. And the biggest challenge for me is dust collection and management. Trying to keep the dust down. I wear a ventilated filtered hood, one of the trends hood, and it serves dual purpose. It filters out all that small particulate stuff that chokes you, and then it also keeps it's got a shield and a helmet, so that when something comes off of the lathe at spinning 1200 RPM and flies at your face, it's going to hit the shield instead of embed itself in your forehead. And not much of a future.
So setting your beard on fire. Yeah. So setting your beard on fire doesn't happen very often.
not as often as it used to. So, you know,
Excellent.
yeah, doesn't mean that it can't still happen.
That's good.
Quite talented.
Okay. Well, I work. I do some metalworking for fun, and I've set mine on fire a couple of times in the last 2 years, and I'm not proud of it at all.
Not at all.
It gets long and luxurious, and then it's on fire, and then I've got the Ragnar Lothbrok look, which is put beads in it, stuff. My wife thinks I'm hilarious. So as I look around,
the other thing. Yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead. You're talking about your
Yeah,
shop.
yeah. I've just recently acquired uh, it's a knockoff to a Tormek uh, stone sharpener for
Mm-hmm.
lathe tools, cutting tools, and
Mm-hmm.
whetstone. And I'm just getting that set up. Uh, I've been using my 2-inch belt sander, Rikon benchtop belt sander to put edges on my cutting tools, and that's not much of a future in that. So this will be a nice upgrade. Having sharp tools is everything. Uh,
Yeah.
so that and it's a constant battle though with the dust, trying to keep the sawdust down. I'm the type of person that when I'm working, I've always had the messy desk at work. When I was on the job,
Mm-hmm.
and my shop looks like the guy that's got the messy desk. I use a tool, I put it down instead of putting it where it belongs. Like there are a lot of people that are fastidious about their shop, and I'm just not. I know where everything is, but if you're an outsider and you walk in my shop, you're not going to be able to find anything. So I have to you know, constantly trying to keep the dust up, sawdust and everything, and uh, it's a challenge, man. So I
Yeah.
don't think I'll ever
I
get there.
understand.
I don't think I'll ever get there.
Uh, no, I have the same problem. So as I look around my shop, so I've got, I think it's 150 64-ounce jars of tobacco sitting off to my right. If you're looking at me, it's off to the left, and they're triple stacked. And the bottom shelf, the bottom stack is the newest, middles, and as I go through things, I rotate them around. The cleaning the jars is a pain in the butt. And it's just space. I have my little 10 by 12 office here that I also have pipes and display shelves, and you can kind of see some of the stuff behind me. So the back half of the room behind me is display, where I keep all my using tins, all the pipes that I have out. And then on this side of the room, which is behind the camera, is where I keep all my pipe tobacco blending stuff. And storage is always kind of an issue. Stuff is always coming in. But the piece of equipment that I most need to upgrade, I need to get an electric shredder. It takes me 2.5 to 3 hours to grind up a pound manually, and I really need to get an electric shredder. As fun as it is, I'd like to knock several pounds out in a couple hours rather than a pound every 3 hours. And as I use more whole leaf products and as they become more prevalent in the ESF line, I have to get an electric shredder. So that's next. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And space, storage. I'm always trying to build racks. I'm always trying to figure out a better way to do it. So that's the pipe and tobacco room.
Yeah. Storage is a huge challenge as well. I see a lot of pipe makers that they have cubbies for, the different, rod materials and, racks for their block. I have those plastic totes because I have to stack them on top of one another. I don't, if I put, cubbies along the walls, my space is so tight. If I put cubbies along the walls, I have like 3x3 space in the middle of the shop that would be allowed to stand in. There's
Yeah.
just,
Yep.
there's just no room. And so, as I continue to add materials, like I was talking earlier about the exotic woods that I bought, I take that stuff into the shop and I think, oh boy, where am I going to put this? And I'm stuffing it in my pockets and, trying to find places in the vest and, trying to figure out how in the world I can, backpack, maybe wear a backpack with the materials in it while I work, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. One of those little, shoulder caddies where everything's just right there,
Yeah,
just reach over your shoulder, grab it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I understand
like a
completely.
quiver.
I have the same problem. Space is, yeah. I think if we talk to every pipe maker and every pipe tobacco blender, space is always the issue. Some
Yeah.
guys are lucky enough to have the nice big shops, but you don't see it as often. As a lot of guys, well, I do some stuff in the basement and some stuff in the garage, just depending on what it is. So
Yeah. Right.
there we go. All right. Last
Yeah.
question from Connor Orlando on Instagram. Should you let your tobacco breathe, dry a little after opening a new tin or jar before packing and smoking? So, Tim, what's your thoughts on that?
I always, um, I've got a leather tray that our friend Thomas Tinker uh, made and sent me, and I use that religiously. I'll take tobacco out of the container, spread it out, and let it sit a while uh, to air off some of the moisture that's in it. It's too wet. It's just all that moisture is going to collect at the bottom of the bottom of the bowl, and it's just going to gurgle and be hard to keep lit, and you're going to get tongue bite, and it's just not going to be right. But I have to. There is an amount of moisture that I um, uh, like to have in it. If I let it go too long, let it set out, and it gets to be tinder dry, then that's no good either. There's a happy balance in between there, and it's only something that I know by feel. I know when it's ready, and I'll pick it up and I'll rub it between my fingers, and I can
Okay.
tell that it's ready now, and I can smoke it. And it's a preference thing for me. Um, I don't know what other folks do, but it's something that I just by preference I've learned how to do over time, and I just by feel I know that okay, it's not too dry, but it's not too wet. It's got kind of the acceptable amount of moisture in it that it'll smoke right and taste good. So that's how I do
Okay.
it.
Um, all right. So it's different for me here in Colorado than it was in South Carolina. South Carolina, I just took it right out of the jar, packed it in, and lived with it. The humidity's high in South Carolina. But the oxygen level here in Colorado is such that it does have to be a bit drier. So typically, sometime between 25 and 35 minutes of drying time before I'll load it. And in fact, in the tobaccos that I'm smoking, if I've pressed it, I will rub it out as soon as I take it out of the press and put it in a jar, and then I can, let it sit out for 25 minutes. If I take a fresh puck and rub it out, sometimes it can take up to an hour for it to dry out to a level where you can keep it lit. Relights are a big thing here just because of the lower oxygen, so the tobacco has to be a little bit drier. As you continue on in your journey, Connor, you'll find out what's right for you. It may be as little as 15 minutes, but I would recommend starting it at that 25 to 35 minute and see what you think, see if it's got a different flavor profile, and try from there. And that's just my opinion on it. So there you go. All right. Well, we've gone through all the categories. We've about wrapped it up today. We've run a little bit over an hour, and I've certainly had a blast. And I look forward to the next week's episode where we talk about the Columbus Pipe Show, and you get to
That'd be
tell me about
great.
all the people you met and all the things that you saw.
Yeah, wonderful,
Yeah. So you'll
wonderful.
be home
Well,
Sunday afternoon after the show.
right, yeah, and we'll talk
Okay.
Sunday evening. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And say
you
hi
know,
to all of our friends that are going to be there.
Will, and thanks to everybody who's listening to this. This is the first one, and uh, like any first time out, might feel a little clunky, but thanks for putting up with us. And we want to do more of this. So please, anytime you have a question that comes up, look for Jim or I on Instagram and send us a direct message. You can also go to my website, pbhbp.com, and there's a contact form in there. You can also leave an email, and we'll read your questions on the next podcast. So, like having the questions, it makes it interesting, and everybody can participate.
Yep, exactly. So again, if you have questions, you can reach Tim and I at Instagram. You can direct message us. I will post weekly before the show, typically on Wednesday. Give you guys a couple of days to figure out what questions you want to ask, and we'll read them on the air at the next one. And if you like the podcast and you want to see more of it, please let us know. But we plan on doing this for a while because, I think it's an interesting show to have a pipe maker and a tobacco blender on that we can talk about things. So there we go.
Great.
Thank you all so much for joining us on this episode. And we will see you next week for episode 2, where we talk about the Columbus Pipe Show. Thank you all for coming. We'll talk to you later.